in a communications program at a communications school, so I think it starts with obviously being a good communicator. That's embedded in very strong writing, combined with good research and good listening skills. And the best communications usually starts with listening, so you understand your audience. You can read the room before you open your mouth or put pen to paper. So I think a combination of those three things really is the core for any communications role. Obviously, the 24/7 news cycle, the growth of social, the importance of digital media, all those things have rapidly escalated how we get our news and information, how we interact with other people, how we interact with organizations and companies. That is clearly the biggest change. Post-internet was really kind of bringing, the internet was way up here, and now it sits on our phone. Okay, so we're all potentially a correspondent, we're all a commentator, and that's changed dramatically how companies and organizations deal with all their stakeholders and the public. I think the second piece that's changed rapidly too is the importance of content. So I firmly believe the written word is still critical because you've got to be able to explain things, but so many times the photo, the infographic, the video clip, whatever it is to illustrate the story and to illustrate your point is just as important to get people interested in the topic. Good communicators love their job because they have a seat at the table. To have a seat at the table, you've got to give good advice and make good decisions and earn trust. And so I've loved that privilege. I think I've worked hard to earn that privilege, but I love sitting in the middle of the organization with a 360 view of everything going on. So many other fields, whether you're in finance or HR or operations, you're in a silo. You might touch other parts of the company in nominal ways, but communications really sits in the middle of it all and supports and helps the rest of the organization succeed. So I've always enjoyed that, to be able to kind of, again, my own curiosity of learning about the company and the industry I work in, and it's changed over the course of my career, but to be able to see that and experience it every day is a privilege, and it's also very motivating and keeps me interested. I've worked across politics. I've worked across industry. I've been in the travel sector. I've been in the technology sector. I've worked in agency roles and government roles. And nonprofit organizations as well. So I feel like I have experienced all kinds of levels and ways to communicate. I think what's interesting right now and kind of in this post-COVID period is we look back on the last 2 years. None of us could have anticipated COVID. I mean, we've all at various levels had crisis plans to deal with some kind of a health outbreak, and we've all dealt with swine flu and other kinds of issues, Ebola over the years, but nothing to this extent. And so I felt like I was walking down the grocery aisle with my shopping cart and pulling things out of my 35 plus year career, something we did 25 years ago at this company, or something we did 10 years ago in this situation. You really were kind of tapping into your knowledge set or remembering things other companies did to give you inspiration. So again, I think that gets back to the whole notion of being curious and being interested. You really have to kind of go to school every day learning best practices and filing them away so that you can put them to work if you need to. I don't believe you should act like every day is a crisis as much as being prepared and using every day as dress rehearsal for crisis. So it's a little a little different in kind of how you view that. I just think every day you have to continue to perfect. It's like training for the Olympics. Every day that swimmer works on getting faster, the diver works on being more precise, the ice skater works on completing the jumps. Every day as you're conducting your business, you're building your reputation, you're building trust within the organization and with your stakeholders, so that if you need to tap into that goodwill, you have it. Once your organization is in crisis or is managing an issue that has a lot of intensity, you have to be able to move fast and move decisively. And if you don't have the trust of your executives, it's going to slow you down. If you don't have the trust of media, because you have kind of historically stonewalled them or been evasive with regard to how you communicate with the media, they're not going to believe you. If you have historically not been truthful with employees or your customers, they're going to be skeptical. So a crisis isn't the time to build your reputation. That's what you should be doing every day. You can certainly enhance your reputation when your organization's in crisis, but you need to have strong fundamentals every day to be able to kind of hit the mark in the big competition. And a crisis is a big competition. I hope I knew these lessons before, but it was reaffirmed and underscored during these past 2 years. You've got to be consistent. You cannot talk to different audiences and stakeholders in different ways. So you've got to be consistent across all channels and across all stakeholders. You have to explain it in ways that people understand. And that sounds really easy to do and sounds kind of obvious to do, but there are times when you get so caught up in the process and explaining a process that you end up with a word salad kind of answer or very kind of a ACT or SAT word problem in the way it's presented. And there's a lot of times when I'll review something and say, I don't know what that means. I know what it means. I understand the topic, but I don't know what it is you're trying to say or what we're trying to say. I also think it's important to be direct and, again, interesting. There's that word I've used several times. I think the teams I manage know that the 3 worst words to come out of my mouth are "I am bored." If I'm reviewing something and I'm bored, I'll just stop. I won't try to make it better for you. I will just say, try again, I'm bored. So I think that was underscored during this time, was like how important it was to be relevant with information and timely with information, and to make sure that the audience, whoever it was, understood it. Because it was a very confusing, scary time for just about everyone. For Carnival in 2022, the biggest thing has been our return to operations. We were paused for 16 months from March of 2020 until July of 2021. So we had no customers, we were generating no revenue. So that was scary for our employees. So getting back to work last summer was obviously a big deal, but now we have our entire fleet back in guest operations. That's very important. It's a very motivating thing for our employees. It's driving a lot of demand for our cruises from our guests. And that has been very satisfactory as well in the context of such a strong demand. I think, if nothing else, the world shutting down hasn't turned people off from travel. It's made them want it more. It was one of those things they missed. It's just like, not being able to visit your parents or whatever it might have been. those things that we missed are the things that are also the things we want to do more of. And so we've seen a very strong demand in the rebound of travel, and we expect that to continue. And those are all good things, notwithstanding, the terrible situation that the world went through and the financial impact it had on the company. We have a lot of work to do to repay the money we borrowed during this period, but we're very optimistic about the future. It's been great to hear the consistent messaging from the other panelists that the priorities that we're faced and focused on in our own organizations are the same for many, so we were talking a few minutes ago with people from Home Depot and Chick-fil-A, for example, and Carnival Cruise Line and FedEx. You couldn't get 4 more different companies with regard to what we do and the service we provide, but we're all facing similar kinds of challenges and establishing similar kinds of priorities. One of the things we talked a lot about here, and I think it was, I don't want to say it caught people by surprise, but the faculty realized from these discussions how important employee and internal communications is to what we do. And that is an area that has been only superficially addressed, not just here with the Mississippi IMC program, but across communication schools, that internal communications techniques and strategies and importance and brand building from the inside out, all those things are where companies are investing now. And the focus on social media is great and important because there's a lot of marketing dollars being spent on social, but from our perspective, employee communications is where it's at for a bunch of reasons.